Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Isabel Rivera Collazo, and I'm reaching out to you from San Diego, California. I am an environmental archaeologist, so today I would like to share with you a little bit about my work and how does my work integrates climate change, archaeology, community work, and resilience. So first of all, the first question that I often get asked is what archaeologists do and how come, to what extent archaeology has anything to do with climate change. Well, archaeology studies the past. We study how humans have responded and have adapted through time to different changes, to different conditions. We as humans, as people, we live within environments, we live within ecosystems, and we need a specific set of climatic conditions to be able to continue our ways of life, our culture, our way to do things. That way to do things has a deep past. It is embedded in our personal and social history, and therefore our relationship with space, our relationship with climate is deeply linked to who we are, to our identity. So archaeologists, by studying the past, we look at the material objects, at the things that people do, the elements, the material components of that way of doing things. When we think about climate and trying to, use a time machine to go back in time, because we are looking at material objects, the components of culture that reflect most that relationship that societies have with their environments and with climate are two elements in particular: food, what people ate in the past and where did they obtain it, what did they do to obtain their food, and habitat, where did people live, how their settlements look like, how they interacted with others, where did their villages and communities were located. As you know, as climate changes, both food and habitat can be threatened. We are seeing that today in the present. If, as climate changes, if the climatic conditions are altered, our ability to produce the food that we require is also threatened because the environmental conditions affect the life cycles of plants and animals. So if the environmental conditions changed, our ability to obtain the food that we would like to eat is also under threat. Habitat is affected when the places that we live, the locations that the landscapes that we inhabit, where our houses are located, when our safety inside our house is threatened. For example, being impacted by a flood or not being able to support the roof over your head. Those elements are included in habitat security, how safe you are in the place you live. So through archaeology, we can look at those things also in the past. What did people eat and how climate change in the past changed that, and what did people do about it? Or where did people live and how did climate change impact their security within their houses? Climate has changed in the past. Of course, in the present, the speed and complexity of climate change in the present is beyond what we have seen in the past. And there are many more people in the planet today. But the magnitude of changes in the past can help us understand how people have responded to these changes through time and what lessons we can learn from those changes in the past. What are the margin of tolerance? How to what extent do societies change? What does it mean to survive climate change? How does it look on the other side of a climate crisis? I am native to Puerto Rico. My research is focused on Puerto Rico itself. And as a small island in a very sensitive tropical area, we are also facing dramatic impacts from climate change already. Our ability to respond to these changes is affected also by our historical context, in particular the impacts of colonization and the effects that the sociopolitical arrangements that we are currently burdened with affect our ability to respond to these threats. We saw during Hurricane Maria how serious those impacts can be and how much our society can get affected in the long term by them. We are still feeling today the effects of the damages of that hurricane, and that was only one. We are expecting an increase in the frequency and intensity of hurricanes through time. So the research about what does it mean to survive a climate crisis is particularly important for me, for my island, for the communities I work with. I focus in particular on coastal erosion and the impacts of climate change to coastal ecosystems. More than anything, having the ability, so for me as Puerto Rican, as Boricua, as having been born on that island, our landscapes are part of our identity. As climate changes and as ecosystems change, our ecosystems and our landscapes are also changing. So I'm focusing mostly on the coastlines and understanding coastal erosion as well. As sea level is rising, as storms become more intense, erosion is being increasingly a threat to our coastal fishing communities who are traditionally marginalized as well. So in my work, I forgot to mention that I am professor at the University of California, San Diego, and in the Department of Anthropology and the Scripps Institution of Oceanography. And I run the Human Ecology Laboratory at Scripps Institution of Oceanography. Within our lab, we run a project called DUNAS. In English is Descendants United for Nature, Adaptation and Sustainability. In Spanish, Descendientes Unidos por la Naturaleza, la Adaptación y la Sustentabilidad. The purpose of this project is to combine geomorphology, ecology, community engagement, and archaeology in a single project to try and get together different stakeholders to think about what lessons can we collect from the past to protect our communities and our ecosystems in the present, facing the challenges of future climate change. In particular, we have been working with local communities that I've been working with for several decades now. And the goal of this project in particular, what we have been doing, the reason behind this project is that during Hurricane Maria, the river next to this area that I have been working with, this river overflowed and the pressure on the coastal plain pushed against a sand dune barrier. Normally, this ecosystem consists of a coastal floodplain separated from the ocean by a line of sand dunes. Behind the sand dunes, landward, there are coastal wetlands of brackish to freshwater. In front of the sand dunes, there are normally wide sand beaches and storm terraces where sea turtles nest. As coastal erosion continues occurring, these storm terraces of soft sand are being washed away, and beneath them, a series of beach rock and rocky ecosystems are being exposed. The sand dunes host a wide variety of specialized coastal forests that hosts a wide diversity of native flora and fauna. And behind them, the coastal wetlands also has a wide diversity different from those in the sand dune that support this rich biodiversity that have supported for thousands of years the communities that live in Puerto Rico. So when Hurricane Maria occurred and the river flooded, the flooding pushed against the sand dune barrier and washed it away. So now there was a huge gap where the ocean can, during storm surges, flow over the storm terrace and inundate the brackish to freshwater wetland. The problem with that is that the wetland cannot tolerate that type of salinity. So that caused a wide range of mortality among the plants. Now, what we did during facing that problem, what we did was to partner with our local communities, and especially the NGO Para la Naturaleza and citizen scientists and local volunteers. And we developed a plan to tackle the problem. And acknowledging that climate has changed in the past, we also tapped into our cultural heritage to understand how serious the situation is and what should we do about it. So we did an archaeological excavation near the area to understand how people used these ecosystems in the past, going back at least 2,000 years. And we also, while the archaeological analysis continued, we also decided to help the sand dune recover. So for that, helping the sand dune recover helped us protect the wetland behind it and the biodiversity. So what we did was using nature-based solutions. We developed, together with some colleagues of the University of Puerto Rico in Arecibo, we developed a system of biomimicry where we could install a series of planks on the sand dune to stop the sand as it is transported by the wind and help sand accumulate on top of the sand dune so the sand dune can begin to grow. As it begins to grow, then we started observing together with local plant biologists, we started observing how the succession of plant recovery on the sand dune happens and when is the best time to plant. So we started to continue helping the biomimicry system with a system of planting a specific sequence of plants during specific times in the year. And we have had an amazing success in the recovery of the forest and the local native ecosystem. We also continued monitoring for sea turtle nests, and we have recorded an amazing number of nests and young turtles returning to the sea. And from the archaeological point of view, we have also been able to see that past communities in this area used to exploit exactly the same ecosystems as the communities in the present within a very narrow area. So we are able also to identify which were the species that were more common, how much human activity has affected these ecosystems, and how much our communities rely on healthy ecosystems to continue surviving. Our work has already proved to be useful. Just this past week, there was a storm surge that was significant enough and to cause erosion and to impact the sand dunes. And our work managed to stop flooding to the wetlands. So the sand that has accumulated during the last 2 years was enough to protect the work of the wetland behind the sand dune. And we will continue to do this work. So this engagement between geomorphology, coastal ecology, biology, and archaeology has helped us understand who we are and has helped us be proactive to mitigate the impact of climate change. We are aware that this work does not stop climate change. It is conversations like the ones that you are having there in Glasgow, the ones that are required to do more and to increase our ambition to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement and to do even more than that, because it is urgent, because our livelihood security, our identity depends on that. So we need engagement and we need to do more. Now, the communities that I am working with in Puerto Rico cannot do much more. They are doing everything they can. But this type of work, where we are partnering with scientists, when we are partnering with local communities, when we are able to do something that is significant, helps build our community resilience. Because at the end, we need our identity to really be able to survive climate change and to see the other side of a climate crisis. And this gives us hope that something can be done. With that, I would like to see if there's any question or any comment, and I welcome your voices as well. Thank you so much for listening to our example and our experience.
Questions, so we'd just like to thank you very, very much for your talk. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, and good luck, and have fun there. And thanks so much for listening in.